go like I thought it would.
Let's go. Let's do this thing.
Alright, and rolling.
Pumpkin soup for anyone who could finish the song
Fantastic.
without screwing up. Without any of his friends screwing up as well, right?
That's right.
If you screw up, none of us eat.
Oh well. Expect not to eat.
The pressure of hunger.
Alright.
You good?
I'm ready when you are.
Alright. 3, 4.
Well, Stu, I'm so glad to be able to do this with you now, to be able to actually sit back and have a yak about music, because like pretty much everybody else on the Sing It Live channel, usually it's like, oh, hey mate, how you going? Before you actually even get a chance to answer, it's like, so you're doing the rhythm part. And so we're already, on to business.
And you finish the session, you go, who was that guy? Not you, of course. We've done a few together now, so that's great.
But it was actually, that's where we met, on the very first ever Sing It Live song. And it was a little bit like that. And what's really funny is that it didn't take long, for both of us, maybe up to a year, where we realised, we've got a few friends-in-law.
Yep.
So can you tell the wonderful Sing It Live viewers that we have that are here every week, can you tell them who is Stuart?
Well, I am a multi-instrumentalist who I grew up in the regions in Mount Gambier in South Australia, and I have made my living as a musician for, I don't know, probably 40 years, I guess. So I started doing gigs in Mount Gambier when I was 15. I learned to play the violin at school. This is back in the 70s. So from the great grounding that you get in theory and practice, playing a classical instrument like that, I sort of was able to get into guitar and mandolin and keyboards and bass and, basically playing instruments that I could get a gig with. And so I've played, original songs and tributes. I play in a few different tribute bands, general sort of rock covers, party bands, country music, folk, rock, whatever I can get paid for. That's my glib answer.
Yeah, you did mention the tribute bands. So the Zep Boys is a kind of a recent addition to that big, long resume that you've got, I guess?
Yes, I joined the Zep Boys in 2020. So I've been, relative to the length of time that the Zep Boys have been around, it's a relative blip, isn't it? I think they've been around for 37 years or something like that. Yeah. But it's fantastic.
Yeah, so for those that aren't from South Australia, the Zep Boys are a pretty big, iconic tribute band, being a wonderful tribute to Led Zeppelin. But I guess you don't have to live in South Australia to have heard of the Zep Boys, right?
No, even just since I've been playing with them, we've done heaps of gigs in Perth and in Melbourne. And we did recently a gig at the Sydney Opera House with a 35-piece orchestra. Dave Pallane did the arrangements for the Zeppelin songs, and that was great. So we're going to do a few more of those. We got one in Adelaide in September, I think. And then we've got later on, we've got one in Perth coming up. We've got one in Brisbane coming up. And we're looking at maybe Hamer Hall or something like that in Melbourne next year. So the Zep Boys did a lot of touring in the UK, actually. They toured with a Prague orchestra across Europe and through the UK. So if something like that happens again, I'm all for it.
Yonks ago, I had vocal lessons with Vince in a lifetime ago, it feels like. So long ago that if I see him these days, he can't remember.
Well, he's got a lot on.
He's got a couple of things on. And so, I get it, since becoming a music teacher myself, it's so hard. It's easier for people to know who you are if you're the one person that's the vocal teacher. But if you've got, say, 50 students, it's tricky.
Yeah.
But I remember Vince.
I've done so many thousands of gigs over the decades that, sometimes someone will come up to me and go, oh, I remember that gig in in Murray Bridge, and we did this and did that, and I'm going, oh, yeah, that was a beauty. And I really have no recollection of the gig, let alone the person. Sorry, but you know, I do gigs to thousands of people a year, I suppose.
All good, Zoran? Yeah. Cool.
It's great to be part of someone's special night, you know what I mean? That's what keeps you going as a musician doing gigs. You're part, you know, it's a cultural experience for people, and it's art, and it's a social gathering, and it's all good. I dig it. It's a soul thing.
So it's a smiling politely part of the job.
Genuinely and politely.
Billy Corgan, Smashing Pumpkins.
Homer Simpson, smiling politely.
Yeah, so the reason why I brought up Vince is because he gave me, all that time ago, gave me a DVD of the Zepp Boys playing with the London Symphony Orchestra from...
Yeah, the Palladium.
That would have been the one, yeah. And yeah, fantastic. And so you get a chance to really delve into the inner workings and the outer workings, I guess, of John Paul Jones, hey?
Yeah, for sure. He's always been a favourite. Before joining the Zepp Boys, I was a fan. I knew some of their songs, but I'd never really studied the music. So getting into it and having to learn it and commit it to memory for the gigs is something you sort of learn the subtleties and the, as you say, the inner workings of the stuff, and you think, okay, this time that bit comes around, this time you play it 9 times, the next time it comes around you play it 11 times, or, it's got a slightly different twist in the middle or whatever. So I've gained a new respect, I think, for Zeppelin in particular. I like playing covers. I like writing my songs and playing them, but I also like playing covers because you always learn something about how these people put a song together, and how melody works with a chord progression, and how you can twist a bog standard chord progression and just make it a little bit more interesting. Neil Young's a bit the same. I'm a big Neil Young fan, and he often just chucks another little chord in there somewhere that you're not expecting, and you think, gee, that's good. That's Neil.
With John Paul Jones, do you get a chance to, go further than the bass guitar? Are you playing the organ and are you getting the mandy out and stuff?
Yeah, that's right. I play mandolin on a couple of tracks and keyboards on probably the ones you might expect. We do Kashmir, and we do the Rain Song, and we do Misty Mountain Hop, and I play a little sort of recorder part at the top of Stairway to Heaven as well.
Yeah, nice. I didn't actually know that you play recorder. Have you...
Recorder on the keyboard, recorder sound.
Got it. Oh, recorder. I love it.
USB sound.
Well, I was squeezing this today, so can I hopefully do it? How much Trevor on the last
What instruments do you play? And if you can remember, what have you done on Sing It Live? Which instruments?
I've played the acoustic piano in the corner. Dancing Queen springs to mind. I played bass on a few, but I've got to say, I play bass when Damon's not available. Damien. I've played electric guitar on a few, and acoustic guitar on a couple as well, and keyboards, and actually a mandolin as well, Maggie May.
Yeah, that's getting a few runs on the board, isn't it? Instrument-wise.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you play that you haven't done on Sing It Live?
As far as playing different instruments goes, there's sort of families, and it often goes with the tuning of the instrument. So from playing the violin, which is tuned in fifths, G, D, A, E, the mandolin is tuned the same way, and the tenor banjo, or the Irish banjo they call it sometimes, is also tuned it's tuned in fifths, but more like a cello. So it's C, G, D, A are the strings. So those are three instruments that I play. And I'm just remembering actually that I did play banjo on a Sing It Alive number. Darren said to me, I want you to play banjo on this Fleetwood Mac song. I go, banjo? Are you kidding? There's no banjo on that song. So I put it on, have a listen, and I go, it's banjo all the way through it. I've been listening to it for 35 years. I've never heard it. So I don't think I've played harmonica on a Sing It Live tune yet.
Well, there you go. Something bluesy will have to come your way, I guess.
Yeah.
Mac is spelled B-A-I-K, isn't it?
Right.
I'm back.
I'm back.
Is this a real one? They're a real one?
Yeah, well, we need to start doing real ones.
All right.
Yeah, look at that song.
And
I'm going to start sweating. Were you involved in the before time, Stu, before Sing It Live, or were you, like me, for whatever reason, not involved? I remember I was always busy on Mondays when Hindley Street were doing their recordings, and then Darren had said to me a number of times, hey, what are you doing on Monday? And I'm like, I'm running the seniors choir and band that I'd always do. So I kind of was never able to be there with the time clash. And then all of a sudden, Darren's got a new project and you and I are there for the first one. That's how I remember it for me. How did you get involved?
I've known Darren for years. We used to sort of cross paths when we gigged together back in the 80s. But yeah, Darren and I, before he started Sing It Live, he'd been working with different singer-songwriters and people recording their own stuff. So he would send me stems over the internet and I would record the guitars and bass and whatever needed doing here at my place and send them back to him. So he'd mix it down and, master it and do all that. So he had a bit of that sort of relationship going on, which was great. And I thought very modern at the time, doing it all over the net. And so when he started up Sing It Live, I guess we just continued to stay in touch. I think he likes a mix of older, more experienced folks like me and Damien and Mel McKay, as well as the younger dudes like yourself. I think that's great that Darren's got this mix of youthful enthusiasm and world-weary experience.
I definitely like that. The feeling in the room to me is always a very generous vibe, just personality-wise. But musically speaking, everybody's always got, something to offer, which is always great. So speaking of which, let's talk about doing Back in Black. ACDC. I thought, well, I haven't had a chance to have a good yak with Stu on my channel. This Crafty Music Tips channel is something that I do, which is just, heaps of different things. And so I love being able to utilize my involvement with Sing It Live as a way of being able to just, I guess, go deep further into the whole music tips thing. I'm a music teacher, and so that's something that you've done as well, right?
Yeah, my music teaching career has been fairly sporadic. I can't stand it. I just can't stand it when people come to the lesson. You say, what have you been doing? And they go, I've been, I was playing footy and I did this and I visited my auntie. And I think that's not what I'm interested in. That's not what I'm asking. What have you been doing musically? Oh, I haven't had time to practice. So you haven't touched the instrument since last week? No. And so what have you been listening to? Oh, nothing. It just drives me nuts. I can only think that some music teachers must be able to handle that. But I can't. So I've got a few students who come around, when it's convenient. Some come around once a month, some come around every couple of weeks. And those are people that I like to work with because they're interested. They turn up to the lesson and they've got something to ask. They say, I've been working on this song. Can you help me do this? Or I've forgotten the first part of your question.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. That was my bad. Never get distracted ever. So I have those feelings as well. It is an interesting juggling act of needing to pay the bills, but also wanting to stay sane and also feel like that you're actually doing something that's worthwhile and helpful, because
Yeah.
And so I've got the same thing where my big, huge amount of students that I used to have is now just the ones that are super keen, because it's not really work, is it? It's just a pleasure. You're just doing a nice exchange. So I guess that brings me to the song in question and working with you as another guitarist. Stu, I got to say, I noticed it when we met for the first song, which was Pump It Up there.
Pump It Up, yeah.
I just thought, wow, what a cool, nice, relaxed guy. It'd be like, you want to do that bit? Oh, I don't, you're like, I don't care. In the best way possible. You're like, well, I'm just here to be a part of this team, and I'll just do what I'm going to be able to do to be able to do that particular statement as best as I can. And that's what I like to feel that I am as well, because doing this ACDC situation, people won't know that what you and I had was a bit of so you'll do a bit of the Angus thing and then I'll do a little bit of the Angus. We'll just do a little bit of both. But then it just sort of naturally gravitated towards, I guess, mainly just the fact that I have a SG and you were able to get your hands on a Gretsch.
Thanks, Mike Jones, for the loan of the Gretsch.
Mike Jones. What an axe. Check it out. Shiny. I like shiny things. Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, so then we were able to kind of assume that role a little bit more. And I remember thinking, well, we got two guitarists. Why don't we do a solo each? And then I remember you even saying, oh, you may as well just do it all. And I was thinking, no, we've got two, we may as well, share it around, because I mean, that's the wonderful thing, isn't it, about Sing It Live? Not really that much of a crazy ego.
No, that's right. That's right. And I think people with the crazy egos generally, even outside of Sing It Live, I think generally they don't gather good people around them,
Well, what are friends for?
Yes, and he is a friend, Jerry. He's reliable. He's considerate. He's like your exact opposite.
When we chatted at first, we're going, maybe Stuart will play the first solo. And then we talked it through. I'm a bit of a spontaneous guy, so it was clear to me that you'd done some study on the solo. And I was saying, well, you do that one. Why don't you do them all? And then you're going, oh, well, there's another solo towards the end, which is a bit more freeform anyway. So why don't you do that one? I go, yeah, okay, yeah, great.
That's a good word.
If you can remember this is my favourite bit.
Well, you can do all that solo at the end if you like.
You got the guitar. Bit of back and forth. Never heard it.
Never did a solo in his life, did he?
Not on recording. Apparently he was a great lead guitar player.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah.
I like working with people for whom the song is the thing. So you want the best outcome for the song. Is everybody serving the song? Are we getting this out as well as we can? If that means to me, if I'm playing a simple rhythm part, then that's what I'll play. If it means that letting somebody who can play a solo a bit better than me, then go ahead. So as it turned out, everybody's happy and it sounds really good. I got the word from Darren yesterday that he's really happy with the mix, and Chloe did a great job and everything's cool.
Got to say that when you get a chance to hear Chloe really clearly, because in the room I decided to not have my in-ears in as I usually would, because I was right next to my amp and I just felt like, no, I just want to kind of feel the amp in a more real way.
Yeah.
And so it was quite good. So to be able to hear the mix with Chloe doing a Brian Johnson, which it doesn't matter who you are, sing Brian Johnson songs must be so hard. And didn't she do great?
Yeah, no, he's one of those freaks. I'll tell you who's similar, in that way. There's a couple of singers spring to mind. Jimmy Barnes is one, and Sting is another. So you go to do a Police song, everything's great, all the you know, the guitar parts, bass, everything fits together great, and you think, who's going to sing this? The answer is nobody. Nobody can sing it. And Barnsey too, once he gets going, you know, many times I've tried to work up a version of Bow River, you know, and all the Ian Moss singing parts, they're all great. He's a fantastic singer, you know, but then they start cranking up towards the end and Barnsey comes in with
Yeah, weren't Cold Chisel such a super group? Because, you know, you've got Ian Moss with the tone that's so silky smooth and rock at the same time, if you can do that. And then all of a sudden, then they bring in Jimmy Barnes just to sort of, you know, hit that home run out of the park. For that kind of
awesome.
thing. So, Stu, we haven't actually mentioned properly in all of your multi-instrumental stuff, you sing as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so in regards to Back in Black, how was it trying to get that damn I'm back while still doing all of that syncopated chord stuff? For me, I found that quite a challenge.
Yeah, it was tricky. I mean, that stuff, people wonder how to, you know, how do you play the bass and sing at the same time? And the answer, my dear Crafty, is practice. So on that day, we didn't really have a chance to practice that because, you know, sometimes we turn up to these Sing It Live sessions and particularly in regard to the backing vocals, you're not sure how it's going to pan out. So you're sort of working it out on the spot. So it just takes a little bit of thought where the hand goes and where the mouth goes. Just it's like a bit of syncopation sometimes. I'm back, I'm back. It takes just a little bit of thought. I think we did okay though, Crafty.
Well, we got there in the end, didn't we?
So from
Yeah, but they were getting too hot.
so the end
so-
of I'm back. I'm back. I'm back. I'm back. I'm back.
So, mate, while we're here, do you have anything to plug?
I've got a new CD out. Stuart Day. Oh, look, it's backwards. No, Stuart Day and the Red Motor. That's a band that does all my own songs with some great friends. And we have a launch for that CD on the 12th of July. That's next Friday at the Wheat Shift. So it's free to get in. I'm hoping people will buy a CD. But, yeah, I've also got a couple of Young Neil and Horse Crazies, the name of our act. We do all Neil. We got Gingers on the 28th of July, the Murray Delta Duke joint the next week on the 3rd of August. So that's a couple of upcoming things. I really like doing the Neil stuff. It's great.
So that could potentially be a nice little elbow to Darren to say maybe we could do a Neil Young song one time.
Yeah.
Nice, mate. Well, I got to say, nice to sit down and chat with you. I could sit down for another half hour, but...
Yeah. Well, maybe we will next time after we work together again.
Yeah, and it's always nice knowing when you're going to be on a session because I think to myself, well, that guy's going to be able to, you know, fill whatever the gaps are needed. You know, you're that. It's like, oh, do I have some here? No, I've got some Sally's No More Gaps in another.
You got to listen, don't you? You got to listen to what's going on around you, and if it differs from what it is on the record, you got to listen to that and work with it. You know.
Yeah. Nice. Well, always a pleasure, mate.
Yeah, good on you, Crafty. Thanks. I look forward to playing with you again.